Last Thursday was Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, the day designated by the Jewish community worldwide to honor and remember the 6 million Jews who perished in the Shoah. It seems particularly poignant that your bar mitzvah, Jacob, falls just 2 days after that significant and tragic day in our Jewish calendar, because your late great-grandfather, Sir Zygmunt Sternberg, fled Hungary just a few days before the outbreak of the Second World War and made his home here in England. It is perhaps thanks to his mother's persuasion to leave Budapest in August 1939 that you and your family are here today to celebrate your bar mitzvah nearly 83 years after he arrived as an 18-year-old refugee on these shores, unable initially to work and classed as a friendly enemy alien. There is a direct link between your own family history and the Torah portion you read so beautifully and meaningfully this morning. The last part of your parasha ends with these words, V'chi yagur itecha ger ba'atzechem, lo tonu oto. When strangers reside with you in your land, you shall not wrong them. The strangers who reside with you shall be to you as your citizens. You shall love each one as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I, the Eternal One, am your God. I want to focus for a few moments on these verses and what they mean in their context and to us today. We are, as Rabbi Igor said at the beginning of the service, right in the very center of the Torah, the third of the 5 books of Moses, and the absolute middle part of Leviticus, which is what made it so easy for Daniel to lift the scroll, evenly balanced. The whole section begins with a call to the Israelite people, as you put it so well in your Devar Torah, to be holy, kadosh. But what does the word kadosh mean? It is used no less than 59 times in this section, a whole section that's known as the Holiness Code. And it refers to many different things, to God's holiness, God's majesty and activity, to places of holiness, the tabernacle, the sanctuary, and the sacred appurtenances for use in the tabernacle. People can also be holy. The priests and their special garments are described as sacred, consecrated for special use. And times as well are considered holy. Sabbaths and festivals are set apart for special celebrations and gatherings. If we dig a little deeper into the possible origin of this word, we find that it embraces the idea of separation or withdrawal. Something that is holy is set apart, dedicated for a particular purpose. Shabbat is holy because it's a day that is distinguished from all the other days of the week, a day on which we are commanded to rest, to cease from all our labors, a day dedicated to God. The synagogue, too, is a dedicated space, set apart for prayer and quiet reflection, not something that is always easy to do on the Jubilee line or the school bus. But holiness is not confined to space or time. And as you again put it, Jacob, in your Devar Torah, your Torah portion is primarily about human relationships, parents and children, the rights of the poor, fairness in courts of law, how we handle our anger in action and thought. It's about the relationship we have with our elders, commercial relationships, and in other parts of this code, our bodies, with the land, with animals, and with a stranger who lives among us. On Wednesday night, the very night that we commemorated the Shoah here at the synagogue with a special service and talk, the Nationality and Borders Bill passed into law. This is a bill that many have been campaigning against for many months because of the harsh and unjust way it will treat the stranger, the alien in our midst. According to the Refugee Council, this legislation will mean that more than 19,000 people fleeing war, conflict and bloodshed could face years in prison at a cost of £835 million every year. More than 3,000 refugees separated from loved ones during conflict, most of whom are women and children, will be prevented from reuniting with family in the UK each year. People smugglers who take huge amounts of money to bring vulnerable refugees across the English Channel in flimsy dinghies or in other ways will not be stopped. Evidence shows that hardline measures only serve to push highly vulnerable people to take even greater risks in the hands of smugglers. It is evident as well that this bill, which has now received royal assent, goes against the 1959 Refugee Convention, which defines a refugee as someone who is unable or unwilling to return to their country of origin owing to a well-grounded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or particular opinion, political opinion. The Convention states that a refugee should not be penalized for their illegal entry or stay because it is recognized that the seeking of asylum can sometimes require refugees to breach immigration rules. That is why the Convention contains various safeguards against the expulsion of refugees, most importantly, the principle of not returning refugees against their will to a territory where they fear threats to life or freedom. When strangers reside with you in your land, you shall not wrong them. The strangers who reside with you shall be as your citizens. You shall love each one as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. How is it possible that this law that lies at the heart of the holiness code of the Torah has been turned completely on its head in our own time and in this place? That we have instead a law which effectively states, you shall not allow strangers to reside in your land. You shall treat them unjustly and unfairly. They shall not be as our citizens. You shall not love them. Holiness is about valuing the dignity and inalienable rights of every human being to choose where to live their life and how to live their life without harming others. It is this law in your parashah, Jacob, that teaches us to love the stranger, each one as ourselves, For we were strangers in the land of Egypt, that must encourage us and make us even more determined to create a different environment for asylum seekers and refugees, one which supports people fleeing persecution and conflict, not punishes them. David Aronovich's piece in the Times a week or so ago, that we need more religion in politics, not less, is particularly true on this issue. Religion teaches us, among other things, about holiness, Kedoshim. Human relationships are precious. They demand from us merciful, kind, and just actions and words. Strangers, refugees, people seeking asylum, even more so because of the vulnerability of the outsider. Jacob, I want to congratulate you on the way in which you read the Torah this morning and last night movingly shared the service with your grandfather, Michael, who taught you and prepared you for both services. That is something very special, and I know you will always cherish the time that you spent together learning Hebrew and discussing your parashah. He has taught you so well that I'm wondering, Michael, whether you're in the market for taking on more students before Zoe's turn comes. Jacob, you have extraordinary talents and passions, English, drama, music, among many others, and you are, as your mum described you, a whirlwind of enthusiasm. That has certainly come across in my encounter with you over this past year. You care deeply about all the things that matter in life: family, friends, the environment, and the world we live in. We do not live in easy times, and if at times we are scared about the future, it is precisely because we care deeply for those we love. All of us here at the LJS and at Rimon look forward to continuing our conversations as you move forwards towards Kabbalat Torah and seeing you fulfill your remarkable potential. Amen.